Hello, everybody. It's myself, LL. I'm joined today by Richard and by Tunde, and this is the TBK podcast. And yeah, I mean, today we're going to discuss YouTube boxing. The thing is, it's this whole thing here, this whole YouTube boxing phenomenon that's been happening for like the past, year, 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of us, quote unquote, purists, boxing fans have been trying to mock it and ignore it and things like that. But I mean, apparently, you know, Jake Paul and Ben Askren, they just done about 1.4 million pay-per-view buys.
Yes.
Allegedly. Can we ignore it any longer? I mean, is it a positive thing? Is it a negative thing?
Yeah.
That's what I don't want to talk about. Do you want to go first, Monday?
So the way I look at it is this: it's positive in terms of the attention that boxing is getting.
Yeah.
You know, over the last few years, the last 10, 15 years, UFC has massively caught up with boxing, and in some instances taken over boxing in terms of popularity, especially in the US. In other parts of the world, not so much, right? But with these YouTube fighters, they have a completely different demographic of the internet, Generation X populace who just gravitate towards YouTube, social media, Twitter. These are the people that have been brought to see these fights, and especially if they're headlining, then they're looking to see these people. But then you've got the undercard, which are the more serious fights, and as a result, a lot of these people are now exposed to combat sports, boxing in particular, that they were never interested in before. So you've got a completely different demographic who are now interested in the sport. And if they're interested in the sport, then they're going to be more likely to view the more serious fights. So in that regard, it's a good thing. Yeah. Right. And also in terms of the money that it's bringing in another way, it's a bad thing in that you have people that have been in boxing from when they're like yay high, 5-6 years of age, and they've been struggling. They've been paying to get fights and stuff, no attention whatsoever, and they're looking across and see these people who, a year ago were posting up videos of them drinking each other's piss and that, right? And then all of a sudden they're fighting on, in arenas and stuff, and they're thinking like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of it's good in some parts, it's not so good in others, but I think overall. It is a good thing in terms of the popularity of boxing increasing again. I
think that boxing fans, I've said this before and I'll say it again, boxing purists are idiots. They were amongst kind of some of the worst sport fans. I'm not trying to alienate our fan base here, but amongst the worst sports fans in the world, I'd say. I can't think, if you go out and play football with a friend who is playing semi-pro, you'd be like, he's really, he's a good footballer. But in boxing, you'd come across, a British level fighter, and it's a harder sport, and people be like, he's a bum, he's not good enough. The standards are, unreasonably high consistently in boxing. And outside of just the competitive argument with the unrealistic, highly high expectations, there's also just the fear of change. So in America, following on what from Tunde said, I mean, I've been trolling some MMA fans online because I just don't like MMA. I'm not really that entertained by it personally, and I've been referring to some of the success stories in boxing, like Zhu Shimin, who had 300 million people tuning to watch his debut. In America, Tunde's right. UFC in America surpassed boxing. It's not a big deal necessarily. Globally, it's nowhere near what it has in America. But WWE is surpassed boxing in America because that's the type of product that Americans like, a streamlined, kind of over-commercialized product. When was the last American boxing pay-per-view to surpass 1 million buys? We have it in Britain. The last Joshua fight. It's easy. I could argue a Hay fight even. When was the last? I think it might have been 900,000. Hey, Belly. Even Dylan White's doing 600,000. When was the last American boxing fight match that?
I think it was probably like Manny Pacquiao, maybe, innit?
No, the last boxing match.
What Pacquiao and Furman? What did they do?
They did big numbers, but it wasn't pay-per-view, was it? I think that fight.
Oh, okay.
The last boxing match was another set of YouTube stars. No, it was KSI against the other poor brother.
That's right. So,
yeah. So in America, they're doing the numbers, and this is the thing. As long as they put pro fighters on the undercard, they're bringing more attention to the sport. Outside of being a diehard boxing fan, you guys know that I teach photography and media, and the biggest brand in photography for a prolonged period of time was Kodak. Kodak was everything, but Kodak went bankrupt because Kodak, despite being the biggest company in the industry, they didn't know what they were selling. So Kodak basically invented the digital camera and said it doesn't work. It's not gonna be effective. So they didn't copyright it, and they kept selling the chemicals for developing film. And obviously the digital camera took off. Everyone used it. Kodak went bust. The problem was Kodak didn't know what they were selling. Kodak was selling the facility to capture memories, but they thought they were selling chemicals. Yeah. That's why they went bust. With boxing, just like Kodak, if the boxing doesn't adapt, fortunately not so much now, then it will continue to shrink in size. So the audience that they're targeting has changed now. It's the YouTube generation and Generation X. Obviously, it's not globally. So in China and in the Philippines and in Mexico, there's always going to be an audience for boxing. But boxing as we know it, because Britain follows America largely, boxing as we know it's English-speaking communities, is it going to be the same? Not if they don't adapt and change. They need to stop being so scared of change. Jake Paul's not hurting anyone. Well, he is hurting. He's hurting Ben Askren. He's not. he's not hurting no friends. We're showing some balls to get in there and fight anyway. So what if he's bigger than the guys? You know what the thing is? There's so many people that watch boxing. Again, another reason is the talk. They don't understand the skill involved with boxing. All that talk. I'd beat him or this or that. I remember people speaking about Audley. I'd beat Audley. No, you wouldn't. Audley's 6'6", British, European, Commonwealth champion, 2-time prize fighter champion, Olympic gold medalist, and he can punch. Like, you wouldn't beat Audley Harrison, and that's the point. People underestimate just how difficult it is for these boxers. Yeah. So for Jake Paul to get in there, even against basketball players, or against MMA fighters, the adrenaline, there's a variety of factors that make it challenging, even if it's not the opponent. Funny thing is, KSI's brother put up a bet, the hardest fight of all of his opponents, didn't he? Did you?
Yeah, he did. He actually done quite well. He done quite well until he gassed out. See, I mean, my whole take on Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, all these guys. I mean, I think with boxing fans, guys who have been watching the sport for a very long time, we end up becoming snobs. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we look at boxing from the martial art perspective of it, but we often forget that boxing is also an entertainment. It's also an entertainment sport. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think that these YouTubers, they're more presenting the entertainment side of things more so than say the martial arts of it. Yeah, if that makes sense. And at the end of the day, you can't ignore that there is a demographic for it. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It might not appeal to, say, myself or, Stephen Smith, who's sitting on his sofa waiting to watch, the next hardcore boxing match. but it does appeal to somebody because people are clearly tuning in. And we live in a day and age today where, you know, people can find all these illegal streams and stuff like that. I mean, if with the day and age that we live in today, where we have all these illegal streams, for them guys to do 1.2, 1.3 million buys, it tells me exactly how many people actually tuned in. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I feel like you can't ignore it. And yeah, like these guys as well. I mean, when I look at Jake Paul and these guys, I look at them like they're young guys. I mean, how old is Jake Paul? What, 24, 25?
23.
Yeah.
He's 23 years of age, yeah? These guys, they've been on YouTube, they've built up a following, and now he's capitalizing on it through boxing. And he's making money from it. It's like, I can't sit there and be a hater. Yeah, do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, is he gonna go in there and now people are talking about he needs to go in there and fight a real boxer? Well, he's making money from fighting whoever he wants to, and the people who get in the ring with him, they're making good money as well. Ben Askren, that's probably been one of the best paydays that he's had in his entire career.
Yeah.
He said he made more
fight
than he made in his UFC career combined.
Do you know what I mean? And if they done well on the pay-per-view as well, I mean, I'm sure that he's going to get a share of the pay-per-view as well as, you know, his guaranteed purse. So, you know, Ben Askren's done all right out of it. I'm sure Nate Robinson done all right out of it as well. You know, even the professional boxers that was on the show, like Progress and all of them guys there, I mean, they're not going to go on there unless they're getting paid decent amount of money. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's also another point, but both of you made really, really valid points. I just want to touch on those quickly. Like these guys, you know, because I know some of the criticism that have been leveled at them is that they're taking money away from genuine pro boxers who are struggling and whatnot. No, they're not. They're actually bringing money in. It's like you know, Apple when they you know, brought out the iPad, something that people didn't realize that they needed. Like they brought it out and people just went for it. Something that nobody ever used before. Like and now it's just something that everybody's used to. And it's the same with these guys, because they've brought in a demographic that had no interest in boxing. None. They weren't spending their money on boxing. As you were saying, Lee, that, you know, with all these illegal streams out there, loads of people, you know, genuine boxing fans don't want to pay to watch a pay-per-view fight. They'll get an illegal stream. These are people who are just paying money straight. 1.3 million buys. These are people that, you know, any promoter worth their salt will be thinking, these are the people that we need to bring into boxing. These are the people that are going to make us money. And you know which promoter has actually had that?
Eddie Hearn.
Thank
you. To say that. He put on them from early.
Yes, he's one of the smartest fuckers out there. Because this is something that he's been doing from way back, right? Where like he was on Twitter, he's on, you know, YouTube, he's on all the social media platforms where he's made himself accessible to the ordinary fan. Whereas, you know, you've got the dinosaurs that are just like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to speak to
But they're changing now, though. They're changing now. Now they're more, because their backs are against like, now they're more being interviewed by like the YouTube channels and stuff like that. Sorry, because I wanted to wrap this up, but just before we wrap it up, just for a quick 2 minutes, I think another thing that we need to kind of touch on the Triller show is the commentating.
Commentating is brilliant. Before we move on to that, I just want to say one thing. Well, it does tie into that. Snoop Dogg commentary is brilliant, and this is what, instead of being, you know, boxing snobs, that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the sport. It doesn't help the fighters in reality. This needs to be kind of a moment. It needs to be like a moment where the people in boxing learn something. What they need to learn is, what is it that these people are doing that's successful? So it's all about the events. It's the event which is making it big, and then it's also having that access to the personalities that's making them transferable stars, isn't it? It's having that access so they can watch. They're invested in Jake Paul. His fans are. They're invested in. It's that having access to the stars and the, you know. So if the sport wants to remain relevant in America, anyway, Britain has that culture where they'll still, even though they copy American in a lot of instances, they'll go to a sporting event and cheer it on, and it will always be a big sport in Britain. They need to, in America, if they want to retain that success, they need to think about what is it that's giving it market penetration, and it's the intimacy with the fighters. That sounds dodgy, penetration and intimacy, but you know what I mean.
Pause.
You know what I mean.
Pause. All right, listen. So let's wrap this up now. Before we wrap it up, I'm just going to ask one question, and I just want one answer, and then we're gonna sign out. Yeah. So I'm going to ask Tunde first. Jake Paul or KSI?
KSI.
Richard, Jake Paul or KSI?
Boy, might have to be Jake Paul.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not gonna pick that. I'm gonna stay in the middle.
You can't do that.
Now I think Jake Paul's gonna do him because Logan wobbled him already, didn't he? So I think Jake might get it done. But yeah, that's for another time. If that happens. So yeah, this the TBK podcast. It's myself, LL, Richard, and Tunde, and yeah, YouTube boxing. It's a new thing. It's taken off. Maybe us boxing fans, or us guys who consider ourselves to be real boxing fans, need to start paying attention.
And this is the TBK podcast.